everyone. We are on another episode of Marketing News Inc. Live. And today we have Ruth with us, and she has a lot of good things to say around energetics, which is actually something that I'm starting to learn as well. But I actually really love Ruth's focus on selling. So Ruth, tell us more about who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Okay, awesome. I have 25 plus years in sales and a background in counseling. I always actually wanted to be a psychologist when growing up, and life kind of, brought me into a different path. But I did end up returning back to school to get my master's in mental health counseling. And one of the reasons why I moved away from therapy was that what I learned was that in my practicum, in my teaching, my clinical hours was all about coping with your symptoms versus transformation. And this is what brought me into coaching. I was more concerned or more lit up about the transformation versus just coping. So there was a lot of things why there was a lot of reasons why I moved away from therapy, but that was the main one, was just the model of it. As I mentioned, I've been in sales for 25 plus years, and I noticed a certain pattern when I was either teaching people on sales or coaching, whether it was my sales team or my clients, was that they had an identity issue when it comes to selling. And this is what blocked them from attracting sales, attracting clients. And I was taught more of strategy. You got to have the best strategy to attract your clients or to get that sale. But I realized that even with the best strategy, if you're not aligned or you don't have the energetic piece or the emotional intelligence piece locked in, then you're not going to see the results. And this is why I shifted more away from strategy to energetics. So I run a seven-figure service-based business currently. I've been have that business for over 6 years now, and I train and coach my sales team. And now I start to introduce my services away from my business because I just see the power of the energetic sides and the energy around getting the sale and attracting sales. So that's why I'm in this position now, coaching entrepreneurs, and service-based entrepreneurs or value-driven coaches is who I serve.
Wow, that's very, very powerful. It's funny because in my head that I already have a question, but I wanted to ask you about your this one first, and then we'll go ahead and ask my question. What are the three things that need to happen in order to for us to attract energetically aligned clients?
Awesome. That's a great question. The first thing is to focus on your identity. And what I mean by that is basically focusing on what your story is around sales, around business, around receiving. So we all develop our identity from when we were children, and that includes things that our parents told us, our environment, and some of these narratives that we picked up along the way could either serve us or not serve us. So there's usually a story that we tell ourselves about what it means to be successful, what it means to make a lot of money, what it means to attract your dream partner or to be healthy. And that story is constantly on repeat. And that's usually in your subconscious. And then you play that out in your conscious world. So in order to attract your dream clients, you have to identify, well, what is your identity? Who are you? And identify the stories. And if the stories are not conducive to you attracting your dream clients, you got to be able to provide a new story. So you're replacing old stories with new stories. That's number one. Um, the second piece of it is not just the mental, the intellect part, because you can have great thinking. You could be a positive thinker, but if you're not feeling what you're thinking, that is not going to manifest in your life, because what it is there's a contradiction happening, so you'll be wavering. So I not only do I teach the identity piece, I also teach the embodiment piece, what's happening in your body, so that you show up. Because my foundation of this is thoughts leads to feelings, that leads to behavior, that leads to results.
Right.
And if you focus only on the thoughts and not on the feelings, that it's going to be hard to move forward with
Right,
results.
right.
So feelings is an important piece. What's happening with you when you are showing up? For example, if you're a business owner, what happens when you put content out or you show up on live, or what's going on in your body? Are you having an energy of like, oh my gosh, this doesn't feel right, I feel anxious, I feel like I'm an imposter? That stuff repels your dream clients.
Mhm.
So it's focusing on the embodiment piece, becoming the person who you want to be.
Right.
And then I guess the last piece of it is I focus a lot on boundaries. The boundaries you need to have as an individual, a boundaries with regards to your business, like who you're letting inside of your world. You can't serve everybody.
Right.
And if you show up with the idea that I can serve everybody, that's where you set yourself up for failure, because not
Right.
everybody's going to be an energetically matched person for
Right.
your business. Not everyone is going to be a match. So having boundaries, meaning it's okay to say no.
Mm. Right.
And that was a big piece for me as well, was that, oh, I don't have to say yes to everybody. I can protect my energy. And you're doing them a service if you do say no, because then they can meet the person that can help them best.
Right.
We all have our strengths, we all have our blind spots, and understanding where we're at and how we can serve them is so important. And sometimes saying no is the best service to your clients.
Right. Right. I believe that. I believe that. Wow. So powerful. So powerful. I'm writing notes as you were talking because I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have something to say, V?
No, I am like hearing what Ruth was talking about is that story. And then recently I just like got into the story brand. So he was talking about like, you got to go ahead and like what you said, have your own personal brand story. And then you're not gonna go ahead and let that old story be your entity. And it's always like, the future self, right? And then the past self is how you improve yourself, right?
Mhm.
It's good that you said when they were like blind spots rather than weaknesses. So
Yeah.
that's a really good one too. I'm just picking up all these like words that resonate with me, and because I am a business owner and partnered up with Shanna too, and we both share the same story, like full-time stay-at-home mom, right? And they try to go out and build this whatever, but you've dropped so many good gems. But I'll go ahead and give to Shanna what was her question.
So I actually focus on the story a lot too. And my question for you is when you were talking about, this so part of our identity is and when we and you even said sales identity and receiving identity, those are all really like those stories change depending on what we held on to when we were young and all this, and that's how kind of it develops, right, subconsciously. And I guess one of my questions for you is how do we identify these stories, and how can we replace them if they're not serving us?
Oh, that's a beautiful question, and it's so powerful because a lot of things that we do is unconscious. We're not even aware. So
Right.
how we're showing up is as a result of patterns and programming that's happening in our subconscious. So the first step of becoming aware is actually beginning to pay attention to your thoughts. So when you're about to do something, whether it's something new or something that you had resistance around, ask yourself questions. What's coming up for me right now? Listening to your thoughts without judgment. Because sometimes we think, oh, I just got to be a positive thinker, so I got to suppress my thoughts. But what you're doing is that you're not getting rid of them. You're just pushing them down. They're still in your body. They're still in you, right? So it's one is observing the thought, finding out exactly what it is, writing it down. And then once you write it down, ask yourself, what else could be true?
Oh,
What else about this could be true? And it's the power of reframing your thoughts. Because as I said, if you go into the tug of war of like, oh my gosh, I got to stop thinking this way, then you're going to just keep thinking this way. But instead, you just allow the thoughts to come and just observe it and then ask the question, what else can be true? It opens up your mind for possibilities because then your mind will begin to find evidence of the new story.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And then one of the things that you mentioned too is, often we're able to be positive thinkers, and we're able to kind of quote unquote manipulate the mind, but really there's a feeling that needs to be a part of that in order for the story to change or to reframe, like you said. What would be your number one hack to 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 start feeling the feelings and not just kind of suppress, and be positive, basically?
Yeah.
Toxic positivity.
Awesome. I think the number one, the most simplest hacks, in my opinion, is really being in a state of gratitude. And in that state of gratitude is just writing, is just observing and looking around for things that you are grateful for. And for some people, it may be just as simple as, oh my gosh, I woke up this morning. I'm so grateful for that.
Right.
I have a roof over my head. I'm so grateful because there's many levels. But even if you go back to just the basics of what you have, and then you do that practice daily, you begin to find more and more things that are grateful. What I personally do now, more than just the gratitude piece, is actually I write a self-image script of who I am, who I want to be. And it's a step above the gratitude, the affirmations. You're actually writing out your life. And I do that daily so that it begins to show up. It becomes your reality. But when you're in that state of gratitude, you're in that feel good, you're feeling your body, you're feeling good. And then you begin to attract more of that. But it takes practice. And whenever you find yourself thinking, oh, this is silly. Oh, I have no money in my account right now. I have nothing to, but just think about, I have a bank account. I'm grateful for that.
Right. Right.
I'm grateful that bills are coming out of my account. I'm grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that reframing and shifting perspective, but that state of gratitude is how we move towards what we want and what to attract.
Right, right. My business coach would always say, just living in the first world and having the opportunities that we have, like we're already ahead of the rest of the world. And that's the reality. And if you already are grateful for that, then you're already ahead. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about my coach is having that, be grateful for where you are, because you're already way ahead. You're not falling behind, you're not failing, you're ahead. So imagine that you're already at an advantage. So what more can you do to play with that advantage? And there's a lot more that we could do, and I totally believe that. This has been an amazing and a super fun conversation, and super fulfilling for me, because these are my kinds of conversations. But please invite us to an intimate relationship with you. You have a Facebook group.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. My Facebook group is called Sales Mastery for Heart Center Coaches. But just so you know, in my group, there's not only coaches there's entrepreneurs as well, service-based entrepreneurs. So there's a mix of people, but I do training there every so often. And I also share about what's happening, what my current offers are, and so forth. But yes, Sales Mastery for Heart-Centered Coaches. By Ruth Larbie. Definitely would invite you to join.
Cool. Very cool. We'll drop that link in the show notes. Before we wrap up, we'd love to hear your final words, Ruth.
Yes, you know what you said earlier was powerful about you are far ahead, compared to other people. Right now, we are living someone else's dream. In actuality, we are living a dream of ours eons ago. What do I mean by that? Is that I had a vision board. It's actually in my mom's house now. And I actually put $1 and I put a 000. It was like 10, it was up to $10 million. And that was like over a decade ago. And I just thought about it the other day because I was actually, just looking at my wins and success, because I have a tendency not to celebrate my successes. And that's another thing. I encourage you to celebrate where you're at. And with my service-based business to date, we're at $6.5 million we generated. And I think about that, oh my gosh, I'm so close to that $10 million mark. And I didn't even realize that, because that wasn't even my radar. But the power of what you write down before it can come to life if you keep your eyes on the goal. So basically, you are where you are now as a result of your thoughts and feelings of yesterday. You have the power to create a new future by being in the moment. And you have to be present in this moment, because you're constantly thinking about yesterday and constantly thinking about tomorrow. You miss the magic of right now. And it's in that magic of right now that determines our tomorrow, that today becomes our yesterday. Mm-hmm. So it's really being in the power of now, and being okay and embracing the journey.
Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah, I just want to go ahead and add that I always say, like, tomorrow is a mystery, yesterday was a history, but today is a gift. That is why we call it the present.
Yes. That's
all right. Well, that's a lot of really good stuff from these ladies. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much, Ruth, for joining us and gracing us with your presence today. So much good stuff, and I can't wait to get this out to everybody. Like I said, I'll have show notes and I'll have links for invitations. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks so much for having me.